Hi, thank you for joining us. With us is Lee Roquet, the CEO and former VP of CX at Finch. How are you doing today?
Great, Ben. Thanks. Yeah, look, really forward to being on your show.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking some time out of your Friday and spending it with us. Why don't we just get right into things? Tell us who you are, what you do, and your path to becoming a CX leader.
All right. Yeah, my name is Lee Roquet, as you said. Currently CEO. It's been about 4.5 months. Been here at Finch, which is an e-commerce marketing agency, and also has a tech side to it, so a product company as well. Joined Finch about 2 years ago as the VP of customer experience to help the team evolve from being just a services company to being a product-led organization. Before that, I was 10 years as a chief customer officer at a BI company called Yellowfin. And that's where I really kind of honed my passion for CX and XM. Before that, I've been in the SaaS software space for 25 years, always on the customer side, leading from support desk days all the way through to leading initiatives to bring the message of customer value and customer experience across the whole organization, driving change within products to make sure that what we're building is something that people want and need and will be what people will pay for. So yeah, I've always been on the passion about the customer. I've background in and training has always been focused on trying to just bring the voice of the customer to the C-suite. And now I've actually got to walk the walk and listen to my own words. And it's been very different being the CEO now, but also very exciting because there's a lot of really cool things I can help initiate for a transition of our organization.
Let's talk about that more because I think that's one of the most fascinating things about you is how you were in the seat, that a lot of people we communicate with are, and now you're on the other side looking into it. So what are the difference from, being the person who's running CX and trying to get these things pushed through and initiatives passed to the one who has to approve them? And on the other side, what's the difference? Let's hear about that.
Yeah, no, it's been an interesting, and I've done some reflection on this because in my past, I've been, manager of CX or VP of, CX, or I would say when I was chief customer officer at Yellowfin for 10 years, that was kind of a different scenario. But I think, being a person who's in charge of the CX team or the division, and maybe you're at the manager, VP, director level, it's a much different, different objective, right? I mean, you're really having to sell internally up through the chain to get support to drive change because maybe you're really only allowed to the perception of controlling the customer when that is probably one of the hardest roles to be in because if you're truly a customer company, it's the whole company. You really have to be horizontally empowered to drive change. It's really tough. And I just remember looking back and I think I have a lot more sympathy too for my CX manager and director to know like you're in a silo, but we need to break that. And so I think, being able to now be on the other side of it where and I think I probably speak for many people who are maybe at that manager, director, VP are like, God, I'm always having to fight against the leadership to understand how important. And I can tell you being in the CEO's seat now and being, I guess, more privy to the overall, I guess, workings of the organization. I mean, we've got 55 people globally. We're a services organization and a product organization. There's a lot more to juggle, a lot more flaming chainsaws and cats to kind of herd. And so I think it's gotten me to better understand too, like, man, there's, it's the CX is so important and it can be the foundation and, reoccurring revenue and depending on your model is so important. But I think just realizing there's a lot going on to run a company, the needs and wants of all the individuals, the customers, the board, it really does take a lot of your time away. And so, I think for me, when I spend time with my directors and VPs now, and I really try to get them to understand, like, you're a slice of the pie and it's important, but I need you to come with me with the solutions of helping me drive change for your, the outcome that you think is going to be best for the company. So, it's it's been a good flip for me to see kind of the other side. I mean, I've kind of been at the, I guess, at the table and understood that, but I think helping my division leaders understand that piece of it, and because it's no, it doesn't mean it's not valuable, and maybe it just means it's not now. Or how do we tweak it to fit in to make sure we're profitable and hitting our goals, and we are doing the best for our team and our customer and our product and our brand. So
With these two perspectives, I'm sure you were banging your head against a wall a lot trying to get buy-in from the C-suite when you weren't part of it, and now you are part of the C-suite. So from these two perspectives, how do you get buy-in from the C-suite for customer experience initiatives?
yeah, that's a good question. I think one of the things too is because I'm coming with 25 years experience, we're always, banging my head against the CX or waving, standing on the soapbox and waving the flag for the importance of understanding the customer and the needs. My mindset is already there. And so I do tend to look at the organization about, what are we doing for our team experience, our customer experience, our brand and product experience? Like, how does that work? Because I'm a passionate believer that if we can, you make your customer happy, the revenue, the reoccurring, the referrals, like all that stuff just kind of, it happens. So, I've day one really focused on everyone thinking about how do we improve the team, the customer, product, and brand. I'm a big fan of the Qualtrics XM kind of mindset. And so, I'm trying to kind of look at organizing the company that way. But then as I'm, talking to my teams and they're coming to me with the changes they want, I'm kind of trying to get them back to a standard process of way that they're thinking. Like, okay, well, is it going to impact our ability to, message or, drive profit or, acquire new customers or retain customers or grow customers? Like thinking about it in that framework for me is how I'm having at least my team come to me. I think they're going to, as I guess, customer-led CEO, really thinking about those initiatives. I'm already in the place of how does it benefit our customers? Like, are we going to, if we're writing code, is first off, have we validated it with feedback? Have we gone out and asked the team and the customer, do they want it? Because the last thing we can afford to do is build something nobody wants, or it's not solving a problem, or they're willing to pay for it. So just again, stepping back and thinking about the customer is really how I kind of try to get everyone to think about their projects and their requests for money, which is now being on the other side of it going, I kind of have to work with the CFO and we have to say no a lot, but I have to be able to tell people why, or can we do it in a different way? So
That makes a lot of sense. How would what recommendations or advice would you give to somebody starting off, in their first 100 days leading a CX team?
yeah, that's a fun and also a really challenging question. But I
Yeah.
think for me, just I've been able to be in a couple of companies, having to come in and you've got your first 100 days to get your strategy going and what are you going to do and how are you going to turn things around. I think for me, I kind of gravitate towards. I have some I guess frameworks that I like to lean on. I'm a big fan of what Adrian's doing over at CXC with his 4 pillars of the way that you could look at running your business. So I would say, the first 30 days is really just be a sponge, look at what you have. I love to just, hopefully the organization you're in has been trying to do something with their data, look at their surveys, look at the feedback. Most people have an NPS program or gather the feedback, talk to the frontline teams who are actually dealing with your customers every single day. Try to gather that information to get your insights on what is actually happening. Hopefully there's maybe some process playbooks that you can look at. I always try to carve things down to the moments that matter, because there are some key things that if you can just do those things right, you can either kickstart a program or turn it around. So it's, making sure that you're setting the right expectations in your sales process, looking at that sales to CS handover. What time do you get your CS people into meeting with the customer? Are the expectations you're setting something you can achieve? Time to value in the first, whatever that onboarding time to value piece is, like that is typically, and I think all the research shows, if you nail the onboarding, even if everything else is a junk show, your likelihood of getting a renewal is like 70% higher than if you fail at the onboarding. So getting that moment of that value of maybe we made the right decision to go with your team, your service, your product, whatever it is. And then making sure that you look at what are those touch points and activities that helps tell a value story at every moment. Because as soon as you win that business, your whole team should be focused on how do we renew that business? And everything you do should be driving value, referrals, happiness. I mean, we can't, yeah, anyway, that's kind of how I look at it, is breaking those moments down, and then realize that this is a marathon. You're not going to hit home runs day after your first 100 days. But I think for any, CX leader, having that plan, having an understanding of just like, let's pick 3 things to focus on. I love my 90-day cycles. My team hates me for it, but we plan our 90-day cycles, and really focusing on what is one thing that you're going to deliver in 90 days that's going to improve again, thinking about the team, the customer, the product, and the brand experience, and do that one thing. And if you sometimes it's really hard, because I'm a guy that I got my notebook here, and I've got 57 things that I've got, down, and I'm my worst own, nightmare when it comes to like, man, we should do this, we should fix that. And now, especially being at the CEO level, I mean, it's from marketing all the way through to the invoice that goes out. Like, I've got ideas, but and I have to keep my team focused on, and I'm a big fan of marginal gain. So if we each just do one thing and you can move the company forward 1%, that's a huge across a horizontal focus CX experience program. So be a sponge, figure out what data you have, figure out the process or the moments that you can drive change with, and then get your 90-day plan going. That would be my recommendation.
I love how you do like 90-day cycles. I'm a big fan of sprints. It doesn't matter the length, just get it all done and then move on to the next thing. So I want to talk more about what your current 90-day cycle is. What's your focus right now, and what is it in the future?
Yeah, that's it's kind of in an interesting spot right now. I mean, we're a 15-year-old company. We've got amazing group of people that are super passionate about trying to drive success with our customers. I think for our 90-day right now, it's trying to get a new product out the door. We're trying to define our moments that matter. We're trying to make sure that they're aligned to our marketing and messaging. And then we're really trying to make sure that we can standardize that process. So, I mean, I'm kind of going back to square one, because I would say when I started 2 years ago to come in to kind of try and put some best practice in place, it was a bit of an uphill battle. So there was a lot of we want to be best in class, but that's not our true like importance at the moment. So I'm going back with the team to go, look, we have to get these basic things right, and they don't, and things don't have to be perfect. They just need to be good to start. And I'd rather have a whole bunch of good stuff going on than, well, we got to get that perfect and wait, another 12 months to get something out the door. Yeah. So we're really just breaking down the customer journey. So we started with that. We started with looking at our moments that matter. We got the 4 that we're focused on. I've got my marketing team working on all the new messaging and positioning. And then we actually just had a call today where we're building out a new, when we look at kind of e-commerce and the transition that's happening within the space, and really being able to message that, there's 2 sides of, well, going back to like running a business, right? I think everyone in the world runs their business on kind of 3 core principles: acquisition of new customers, retention of customers, and managing your costs. So we're trying to build a really simple way for us as a team to message this to our customers and prospects, that we have our process. We bring you in from the beginning. We understand what your objectives are. We're putting our success plans together, and then we move you through your funnel to get to profitability. So we're trying to document that, operationalize it, and then repeat it. And so that's really what I'm trying to focus on, is start 2024 with our new product, our new process, and really build a scalable, repeatable, and predictable company.
Oh, I mean, I think that's a great goals to have, and the fact that you have it on paper and you're focusing on it now is phenomenal. You talked about something, these moments that matter. That's really fascinating, and I find it quite interesting. So I want to talk more about that. You said there were four of them. So in your business or just in general, what are these four moments you think that matter?
Greg, you to call me out on it. Yeah, a couple of years
Yeah.
ago, I would say I got, let's say 10 years ago, I got really into journey mapping, and I'm like, whiteboard. And I, you know, have a room dedicated. Everyone's got different color pens and stickies. And, you see that on like huge companies that get the opportunity to do that. And man, I
Hmm.
would love to be able to have that time and energy. But what I've kind of found is, man, most time when I come in either to do a process or get a team turnaround is you don't have that luxury, and you maybe only have two color pens and one sticky pad that you got to kind of work with. So what I found is like I've kind of nailed things down to kind of, I don't know, 4 or 5 moments that matter, and so I tend to look at, and I try to always come in a mindset of get myself out of a silo and look at it horizontally, because if you can tie the customer success and experience from first touch to invoice, you can figure out through that journey path. One, you need to figure out what's the, I guess, the fear and the greed in the sense of what's the fear of losing revenue, and not greed maybe, but what's the opportunity for profit. If you can denote those two things, you can speak to your C level, you can speak to your process team, and you can build things and hang things off of those moments. So for me, I've tried to make the journey mapping process as simple as possible. So I look at the, what's happening in sales and marketing, and it's really just the messaging, the playbooks, the handovers. What are people doing to make sure that the customer's being heard, that you're not trying to oversell, you're listening, you're capturing, you're passing that knowledge throughout the steps. That piece I tend to kind of have as one moment, just because if we're setting the wrong expectation, your team, you can't you can't overpromise and then just think your CX team's going to make it work, because that's just never, it's never in line. Like I'm okay with a little overselling, but not to the point where we can't be successful by renewal, right? The next one for me
Hmm.
is the handover from sales to CS, like queuing up and making sure. And one little point that, or point of moment that I think is also important, is between the time you do whatever the step is. Let's say it's the growth workshop, or that discovery call, or the sales, and you move into your commercials, is making sure that you have that intro to your CSM. Because the last thing you want is, as you've got your buying team, they're excited, people are, yeah, let's go with your company, and then there's it's a week or two, or it can be 30 days of back and forth redlining. People tend to get cold feet. Get your CS people introduced to the buying team to talk about, we got you. Here's the path we're going to get you to time to value. Here's how we're going to get you to successful. Here's how we're going to train you. Here's how we're going to make you feel like we're on your partner team. So that to me, that little piece there, and then the handover is the third one, the time to value, and making sure that onboarding is, I mean, if you only focus on one moment, honestly, that's probably the most important, because if you can get people successful using your product or your service, get them to that time to value as quickly as possible. One, as you look at your cost of acquisition and your time to profitability, if you can shorten your onboarding, their time to success, great, they're happy. You can then work on the renewal. But I think what a lot of people don't do is look at your costs on your sales process. If you can shorten your onboarding time, let's say it's 90 days, and you can bring it down to even 50, like that, then on the backside of most people and most SaaS companies, I mean, if you have a year one cost of acquisition or time to profitability period, awesome. Most people don't make money till year 2 or 3. If you can shorten
Hmm.
that at any point, it just gets you to profitability for that account quicker. So I think that's probably, and then the last one is just your engagement and that renewal process. I mean, you should start, like I said, you should start engaging and renewing in the activities, and telling the story is so important. And I think a lot of teams don't do this well, and they don't spend the time training their CSMs. Tell the value story. You own that communication, and it starts with the onboarding. I'm going to be your CSM. I'm going to be hitting you every week with what we're doing, the value. I'm going to send you automated reports, but I'm going to get on that QBR and I'm going to tell you why we're the best partner and why you should be, we should be just growing together forever. That piece
Mhm.
and making sure that that's done. And then the renewal becomes a formality. I mean, there's
Yep.
things that are outside of control, but again, that's the most important. Anyway, those are the like four things that I focus on, and then you build out from there. But if you can get those four nailed, and your conversion rates go up, your time to profitability happens, you're tracking the right metrics, then you can start hanging really good process off each of those and trainings, and then your OKRs, and yeah, everything kind of, I don't know. I try to make it as simple as possible for my team because everyone's busy. We don't have time to do, super complex, as much as like I said, I'd love to have the time where I could dedicate a room to doing a full journey, program, but it's really not sometimes feasible.
Yeah, it's got to be scalable too. You got to be able to grow, and a lot of people have other things going on besides creating change and improvements. You got to ship to sale. I
Yes.
find these moments really fascinating, and you threw a lot of KPIs out there, right? Time to value, renewals. But how do you measure success with a CX program?
Um, yeah, that's a great question. I think there's some simple things you can do, right? I mean, renewal rates, you can look at engagement, you can look at NPS scores, you can look at referrals. I think, I think some of the just the standard things you could be doing. I mean, it probably a big thing about your business model. Like, how are you defining? Now that I'm kind of looking at, how is the company profitable? How do you define that as, the contribution from each of the divisions, and figuring out how you can you make sure that your utilization rates and your margins and your efficiencies are all happening within each of the teams. Making sure that each of the individual understands how they're being measured in success towards the profitability of the organization. I think is a key one. So I think for I think a CS team really focusing on I think hitting those milestone moments like the time to value for an account, celebrating that, moving them from stable to growth, or if they're at risk, turning those risks around. I mean, every account you renew or grow or don't lose is a huge win. So I think for anyone that's in the reoccurring revenue business model, it's that retention of revenue and really understanding when you hit the milestone of profitability for an account, like celebrate that. I mean, that's a pretty big one.
Hmm.
Like I said, I mean, my experience and it is usually year two. So getting that first year renewal is huge, because that means that that is going to contribute to your ability to then look at scaling, and putting more money into marketing and putting more money into going out and getting new customers, and then hopefully tracking things like your God, I'm totally spaced on the acronym, but the referral growth rate, which I know kind of
Hmm.
goes hand in hand with your net reoccurring revenue in the sense of, but again, if you get a referral business or returning customer, making sure you work with your finance team and separate out the cost acquisition out of that, because that customer is already
Hmm.
profitable. And so making sure you celebrate and reward the teams who are, you know, or the referral partner who brought you that business, because that's free money.
Yeah, yeah. You don't have to work very hard for it, right? If you have good processes in place, they should just come, right? If you've got a good CX set
Correct.
up. This all sounds really, really good and awesome, but I'm sure you've experienced this. What pain points do you have when you're, managing a CX team, or even looking at the other way? What pain points do they cause for you?
Yeah, I guess now that I'm kind of looking at everything that we're doing across more of the financial side of things, and really looking at making sure that the team understands their contribution to the profitability of the organization. So, I come from, actually, when I got my start I worked in a call center, and it was adherence and utilization and making sure that you answered your calls, but I think that mindset of coming back to, are we profitable at the individual contribution level, is really kind of like starting to think about, is my CSMs, are they being efficient? Is my process, and training is allowing them to, be at a best in class or standard? Can my CSMs manage instead of 10 accounts, 15? And is that feasible? Is the customer experience going to go up or down? Is the team experience going to go up and down? But I think looking at, those types of at that level is important. I mean, if we can find areas within the business to be more efficient, it allows us to, one, keep the lights on and hire more people and invest in more projects and really make sure that we can be a viable business. I think that's probably been my biggest, lesson here. I mean, I think it is once you start getting into managers and or being in management and managing your budgets. But I think really looking at, it's hard to run a business and there's a lot of luck. And you got to have you got to have everybody really bought into the future and direction. And because it's really easy, and you see it all the time with businesses. I mean, we've experienced it with our own customer base this last 12 to 24 months. We've had a lot of churn, and a lot of it's been people going out of business. So I think, people realizing there's a lot that goes into being lucky enough to have a business that can run for 15 years. And I think I think everybody in the organization realizing that and being part of it. And then it comes, I think I've been trying to be a lot more transparent on where we are and where the costs are and what it means to be successful as an organization starts with making sure that we can keep the lights on and the doors open and we can, have 55 people with a career, I think is pretty awesome. And it's also a lot of responsibility, but I think, I think everybody understanding that, just not to take it for granted, I guess. I don't know if I kind of went off topic there, but.
No, it's great. I love it. And it's great to hear your perspective too. I think, as you're answering these questions, you're looking at it from where you were before and you are now. And you're like, oh, I totally get it. Right. It makes a lot more sense. Things click for you. Do you have a specific example where you've used customer feedback to improve your business?
Yeah, I think, I think having those, I think one of the other probably pieces that goes hand in hand with like the concept of moments that matter is having your voice of your customer and your employee programs that kind of go hand in hand. I kind of have a 3-tier or a 3 horizontal, I'd start with metrics, start with moments, and then I have my feedback model that I tend to kind of look at. And so, depending on where you capture that feedback can help you, of course, drive and change process. So if, for example, you were seeing a spike in, sales conversion rates and we're getting feedback from, the prospect who said no or the team, and then sitting down and really just, going through those after action and going, well, what was the feedback? Why did they say no? And then, okay, do we need to change our messaging? And so we did actually, thinking back about 6 months ago, we were, trying to push to be a software company without actually having a demo of a product. So we kind of had to, people were like, well, I can't even see what you have. So I got to just believe in maybe what you're saying. And so we decided to change that kind of process, and and that's helped us with our conversion rates, which makes sense. But one example of just kind of trying to fix that, and I think also on the backside of, I think it's incredibly important to make sure, even though people are busy and they don't have time, and is commit to having that monthly churn review with the team and really talk through and why did they leave? What did we do? Let's look at the last 90 days. Did we not talk to them, and did we not tell our story? So I think that's probably been just recently for us is just really understanding, because I think there's a lot, I think one of the things that I try to also do is you got to celebrate the little things. Big things are like, hey, I got a great renewal and we grew the account, but sometimes the little things add up to helping people feel like, especially when I think turning around an organization or dealing with, the economy and trying to get, the pipeline growing, is you gotta celebrate those little wins. And so being able to do the after action of why someone churned, but then look at some of the positive things, and if it ends up being that they went out of business, but we did everything right and we helped it make an easy transition for them, I think those are the things where you got to, okay, we did that one right. Or these are the lessons we've learned. Now, how do we go back upstream in the journey and change those process? And how do we train our team to be able to handle that better? Because a lot of times, that it's always the things that you want to do that get dropped. Like, yeah, we should invest in a training program. Well, we should give people time to be able to do the training program as well. And so being able to make sure that you understand the expectations, and then as an organization, we got to give people time to be able to invest in being better. So yeah, kind of going off topic, but I think I think it's holding yourselves accountable to review the data you have is probably the best way to start. That for us, I mean, it's just getting people together that talk about the either what broke or what we need to change is what we try to commit to try to improve the moments that matter for our organization.
Well, that's great. A lot of people do these programs, and then they just don't even look at it. Like, it's just checking a box. And they only work well if you look at it, analyze it, and take action upon it.
Yes. And I think that's a good lesson too, is like, don't just go and do all these things if you're not going to commit to it, because you're just wasting your time. And worse off, if you're asking your customers to fill surveys out and you're not looking at the data, don't do it, because it's wasting their time, and you're better off focusing on, again, going back to improve one thing at a time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'm going to shift gears a little bit here. What do you think is the future of customer experience?
Wow. Well, I think everyone who is living right now, just the explosion of just OpenAI and GPTs and everything that's I know OpenAI owns GPT, but I think the idea of I think it's going to be. It's a hard one to answer, but I'm going to put myself out there a little bit. And I'm going to say in the next 12 months, we're going to see probably some of the most massive changes in service offerings, as well as just the ability for individual, and I'll say, like, for my space, e-commerce brands to self-manage their own experiences in a way of getting to data that they wouldn't normally be able to get to in a way that can be conversationally asked. I think AI has finally gotten here. I think we've been promised it for 10 years, and there's been little glimpses of hope, and then I also think, like, the natural language query of data is becoming so easy now. We had a situation where I've been playing with GPT for, I don't know, God, probably a solid year, and then just by trying to get to, can I ask simple questions of what my teams are doing? Like, can I build a strategy for a brand, asking questions and telling them, giving them my data and figuring out to get to kind of a baseline strategy? And you can do those things. I think what's scary on that as well, do you have the expertise to then run those? You spend your $50,000 that you were trying to do in all your channels to get acquisition and hopefully grow your business. Like, that's the piece I think is going to be shifting for, like, our organization or our industry. I think I've been looking, actually, we're in the process of looking at replacing our ticketing, knowledge base, and community applications, and being able to go through and looking kind of at the 5 top players and seeing how they're rolling out AI is really cool. I mean, being able to just see the knowledge, the ease of getting to knowledge now to solve a problem yourself. I mean, I love that. I mean, I'm a huge fan. I've been a huge fan of the KCS, knowledge center service model, for 25 years. And I always roll that out whenever I have the opportunity. And so being able to see that full circle of capture knowledge, one to many, get it in the hands of everyone to help improve and get better. And now these got the LL or the large language models are just making it's making it so easy to share. And I love the idea that we can throw a GPT on top of a controlled knowledge experience now, because that's been the kind of the concern, is like, if you can go out there and ask anything out there, and the stuff that you get back can be 80% there, but that can be uncertain. So I don't know. To answer your question, I'm super excited for the next 12 months. I think, especially as I help to turn around the product direction that we're going. I mean, we're right? In the place of looking at how do we bring this in smartly to empower our end users to solve the problems that they need to do as easy and quickly as possible. So, I mean, yeah, it's an exciting time, but it's a scary time, and I can just see that the ability for end users to get more access to data is going to be tenfold.
Do you think that the application of artificial intelligence on these process, like the knowledge center, like now they have things where you can just like give this tool all of its all your PDF files, right? And it'll analyze
Yeah.
them and it'll just answer questions for you without doing anything. They're super duper simple. From a CEO perspective, do you find that really encouraging because it's going to allow you to save on like staffing costs or just the time in which your current staff spends answering specific questions? Do you see a better advantage from CX or from CEO?
That's a really good question. I would have to say both. Here's an example I'll give you. So we're looking at bringing in a new partner who has a product, and for us to do an integration into our product. Well, they have a wiki. It's they've had 10 years building this wiki. It's amazing. So I was talking to their CEO and he's like, our CTO, and he's like, hey, well, all you have to do is go now get the new GPT, point it to our wiki, tell it, don't say this name, say your name. And now you have a robust, and I don't have to copy. I mean, before we'd have to export the wiki, pay someone to go through and change all the names,
Yeah.
reword. And now we've got a 10-year-old wiki that gives us the ability to share that with our end users, but in a white label kind of environment. So, that kind of example of like, that just saved me a ton. Now I can have my people focus on more engagement with customers.
Yeah. So it's more teaching your team to apply these new AI tools so they can leverage and improve their efficiency and what they're doing. I use it all the time. Like this thing, I'm going to put our transcript into ChatGPT and it's going to spit out a whole blog post for me, and it's going to be fantastic.
Oh,
I love
I
those
think that
tools.
piece, especially for, like the space we're in, where we're, we have some really great creative partners, and the stuff they're doing to just be like, here's some raw data, give me like, creative for all my channels, write me, the copy for all of it. It is just, I mean, that just time savings alone, it still doesn't make it so that like all that stuff, if it's not used correctly, isn't going to help drive your business. But the
Yeah.
ability to get to a starting point to
Yeah.
then shorten that window of time to market is going to be great. And I think that's the biggest, best use case right now is help me get to a next step faster. And that's
It's a
how we're
catalyst. I
looking at
find
it.
it. Yeah. Exactly, like a catalyst. Although everything comes out like in the highly competitive nature of
Yes,
this
yes.
industry, like it's the first
I
sentence
know
of everything.
you do have to
Yeah.
read it, but I think it's
Yeah.
like, and sometimes I think just being in the creative space, and I think this is probably going to be something that will be interesting, or concerns I keep reading, is that everything starts to feel the same. Everything kind of
Yeah.
starts to have the same look, the same tone. Like you have to rewrite the intros and exit of anything that you get out of these, the AI bots. But I think how you apply that is where the creativity next phase of business is going to be. Is like for us as an agency, I mean, we're here to be a partner and help grow and be the guardrails for don't spend too much or spend more here, or let's do this different strategy. And so for my team, it's going to be, okay, we've got the easy buttons maybe to create creative or do copy, but now we got to be creative in how we apply those to get eyeballs, because it's still going to be, we're paying to get acquisition, we're paying to get retention, we're trying to figure out how to manage costs, right? And so that's where our business is evolving, and I think the agency space overall in the e-commerce space is evolving. And I think people are, what I'm super excited about, I've been saying this to my team for about 12 months now, is I think with the shift of the economy, and it's more expensive now to go and get the cost of acquisition through all the channels are getting expensive. But what's not is treating your customers amazingly on the back end, repurchase rates, tell them, spend the time on your lifetime value programs, talk to your customers. You've already paid to get them, and that's your best place for repurchase, referrals. So I think companies, especially I think in the next 12 months, are going to have to shift a lot more to treating their customers as prized possessions, because it's harder to go and get new ones now.
Absolutely, absolutely. I could talk to you for hours, but I know we got to get off the phone at some time. But this has been great. I got a
It is
couple
fun.
softballs for you here at the end. What else should we know about you?
Well, look, I'm on, I try to share my journey on LinkedIn posts. I know I've been a little bit lax, but I've spent quite a few years trying to just share my knowledge and connect with people. So if they're, glad to connect with anybody and talk CX. Anybody out there looking to mentor a new CEO, appreciate that as well. I'm just fortunate to live in a little ski town in Idaho. Got my family, my wife owns a coffee roasting company. So luckily for me, I get to enjoy great coffee every morning. And I'm just trying to do
That's
my
awesome.
best job here with my team and do right by our customers, and trying to share, and very honored to be on spend time with you, Ben, and share just a little bit of my story. So hopefully that was something that helps your listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. I love your perspective. You're the first one I've talked to who has seen it from both sides, and it's phenomenal. Why don't we give a plug for your wife's business? What's it called? What's their website? How can we buy this awesome coffee?
Yeah, sure. No, that'd be awesome. It's called lizziesfreshcoffee.com. And she's online, roast to order, ships nationwide. She's been in business for about 17 years. And she is actually, we just won in the Golden Bean, which is kind of the gold standard for roasters in the US, or the world, actually. They're based out of Melbourne, Australia. She won 5 bronze medals for her coffees this year. So
Wow.
we're super excited about that. And
Awesome. Kudos to her.
thanks for the free
That's
plug. I
great.
appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, not everybody likes coffee, especially people
Oh
in
my God.
CX. They need that when they start reading those emails in the morning. All
That's
right. So
right.
my last question, how can we learn more about you? How can we connect you to and follow your career?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm on. Appreciate that. I'm on LinkedIn. Lee Roquet. Just look me up and connect. I'd love to. Like I said, I'm trying to learn and always keep my saw sharp, and connect with people who are doing the same thing, and love sharing my story. And so I appreciate that. And if anybody out there needs any help with e-commerce, finch.com, or here for any of support you might need, or just coaching and sharing ideas. Oh, we have a really fun podcast that we do. It's e-commerce. It's a happy hour podcast from Finch. And if you just want to listen along with our team, we try to not take ourselves so seriously, and really trying to share what we're learning, because I think like I said, everything's changing right now. The economy, and just how you look at business, and the impact of AI. I think we're on an amazing journey to kind of this third wave of I think technology is really going to change how we do business, and how we go back to, and I say it all the time, my team always laughs at me, but people helping people, right? I mean, that's the core of
Mm-hmm.
CX. And I think if we as businesses and people just remember that, we can put a better smiles on our faces and have a good weekend. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
my pleasure, Ben. Thank you.